Welcome. My name is Peter Zagorski, and on behalf of the VBA, I would like to welcome you to the National Construction Code 2016 Video Information Session on Volume 2. As you can see, we are doing our NCC 2016 seminars differently this year. This and other videos in this series will be published prior to the seminar roadshows around the state. Those seminars will be run as Q&A sessions with a small panel of technical staff from the VBA to answer your questions. So once you have viewed this video and others in this series, we encourage you to forward your questions to the following email address: ncc2016@vba.vic.gov.au. We will then discuss and answer your questions at the seminars across the state. The schedule for the seminars can be found on the VBA website.
The date of the adoption of the new code is May 1. This year, May 1 will fall on a Sunday. The areas to be covered in the presentation will include application and general provisions, structural robustness verification method, ventilation verification method, stairways and ramps, boilers and pressure vessels, non-appurtenant Class 10A buildings, smoke alarms for Class 10A buildings, The
first change that we will discuss relates to Part 1.0, the application part at the start of each volume. These changes have been made to clarify that the code is a performance-based and highlighting the choices available to meet the performance requirements, with an aim of increasing the use of performance. The performance requirements are the mandatory requirements, not the objectives or the functional statements or the deemed to satisfy provisions. To satisfy the performance requirements, you have a choice: either a performance solution or a deemed to satisfy solution, or a combination of both. The wording is different, the entire part is rewritten, and the clauses have been reordered. But in terms of functionality, the 1.0 in 2015 and the 1.0 that is in 2016 is practically the same. It's policy neutral. The changes to 1.0 are about identifying the most important part of this diagram: the performance requirements. The performance requirements are the part of the code you must comply with. You can demonstrate compliance with the performance requirements using the deemed to satisfy provisions, alternative solution, or a combination of both. But the performance requirements are almost hidden away in this diagram. Once you take all the extra information away, you're left with how the NCC actually works. The ABC want to be simple and clear on how to use the NCC, so they've taken away everything that confuses the matter. So they've replaced the old diagram with this one. This diagram makes it clear that the performance requirements are what must be met, and that this can be achieved via a performance solution, a deemed to satisfy solution, or a combination of both. Therefore, the top level, the performance requirements, is your compliance level, and the bottom level is your compliance options, which are performance solutions or deemed to satisfy solutions, or a combination of both. Just to clarify, these two terms have been amended from the previous terminology. You'll note that performance solution replaces alternative solution. This acknowledges that the two terms, for the purposes of the NCC, are equivalent in status. Therefore, a performance solution is not an alternative to the deemed to satisfy, more so a valid solution in its own right. The concept of deemed to satisfy provisions has been replaced with the concept of deemed to satisfy solution. So there is simple consistency between the two solutions. The objectives and functional statements have been taken out of the diagram. They are also out of the code and placed in the explanatory information in Volume 2. They have always been guidance material, as indicated in the previous diagram. Because they are guidance material, they are now placed alongside other guidance material. Therefore, Part 1.0 has been amended to align with this new approach and to make it easier for users of the NCC to understand what a performance-based code is and to assist in the use of performance solutions. 1.0.4 now becomes 1.0.1. 1.0.5 becomes 1.0.2. 1.0.6 becomes 1.0.3. 0.0.3. 1.0.7 becomes 1.0.4. 0.0.4. 1.0.8 becomes 1.0.5. The assessment methods provision is consistent with the intent of the existing code, whereby the assessment methods must be used for a performance solution, and the assessment methods may be used for deemed to satisfy solutions as appropriate. 1.0.6 is new. This used to be in the introduction at the beginning of the BCA. This is a relocation of 1.0.10. This change has been made to emphasise the choices available to meet the relevant performance requirements. The existing 1.010 implied that the deemed to satisfy must firstly be considered in order to evaluate the relevant performance requirements. The new 1.0.7 retains this approach as one option. However, it allows for the determination of the relevant performance requirements without reference to the deemed to satisfy provisions. To further explain 1.0.7, when you pick up a performance solution report, you'll likely find a table like this one somewhere near the front. This table responds to 1.0.10, or what in NCC 2016 has been relocated to 1.0.7. This provision, which requires that when a performance solution is designed, then the relevant deemed to satisfy position needs to be identified as well as the performance requirements relevant to the performance solution. However, it was identified that if a performance requirement was entirely met by a performance solution, there would be no need to list any relevant DTS provisions because they would all be covered by the performance solution. So 1.0.7a was inserted, which removes the need to identify the relevant deemed to satisfy provisions when a performance requirement is met entirely by a performance solution.
With the new application part, it's now clearer how you comply with the NCC and the options available to demonstrate compliance with the NCC. Currently in Volume 2, a number of definitions were located in the part in which that definition was used, such as in Part 9 for stairways and ramps, and Part 12, energy efficiency. All definitions have now been relocated to Part 1.1 with the other definitions, so now they are all in the same location. The following definitions shown on the next two slides have been inserted, amended or deleted. You will note that alternative solution now includes a reference to a performance solution, and deemed to satisfy is now deemed to satisfy solution. Performance solution is now a method of complying with a performance requirement. And Volume 2 now references resistance to the incipient spread of fire as a consequence of including requirements for new provisions related to separating floors between a Class 1A and a non-appurtenant private garage. The climate zone map has been amended for both Volume 1 and Volume 2. It reflects some changes to the local government boundaries in Queensland.